Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Let's have it. What start to the season? Hang on, let me just straighten this up a bit. What a start. What start to the season? We've done it again. Manchester City. Not Liverpool, not Arsenal, seldom ever Chelsea. But for some reason, Manchester City. Explain it. Explain it to me. And the thing is, you know what I've got to say? The thing is, I had a feeling, I'm just saying, I told you so. I had a feeling before this one that we were going to do that. I had a feeling, I had an inkling that we were going to be winning that one. And we've done it. We've done it in, honestly, really professional, really pretty straightforward a fashion. Were there any real moments in that game where I thought getting a bit on top? Maybe there was a little spell, a tiny little spell towards the end of the first half, little spell in the middle of the second half where it felt like Man City were sort of going through the gears a bit. Maybe they were going to PSG us, but you know what? Nah, just we've done it. We've dispatched them. It's really quite unbelievable to have this sort of a record now. So we're drawing with Liverpool as being the team to have beaten Pep Guardiola in all competitions the most times in his career. There's 10 times Tottenham Hotspur have beaten Pep Guardiola now. And I really just don't get it. I speak at length on here about, like, I don't believe in DNA, club DNA, all that type of thing. I don't buy it. I'm not here for it. I don't think it's a thing. Do I think that, João Palhinha has Tottenham's DNA now he plays for us? No, I don't. He's been with us for a few weeks. And that was evidenced today by his performance, wasn't it? But I guess what you could probably say is more likely, and this is one of the things I always feel is more likely, is if there's a pattern of behaviour, right? The press will pick up on it before the game. And the press will continue to say to Pep, as they ask Pep Guardiola, is this about revenge? Are you going to get one over Spurs for them beating you 4-0 last time at the Etihad? No, I don't think about it in this way and that way. But I think the more and more these questions are asked of managers, the more and more the narrative is built around these fixtures, it must play into the thoughts of the players. The players must go into these type of games. There has to be a reason more than each and every time we play Manchester City, somehow or another, we tend to get a tactical one over them or Pep Guardiola or whatever, because this is successive managers now. Even Nuno Espirito Santo did it for us against. I don't get it. I don't get it. And the only way I can rationalise it is by saying that if the conversation leading up to this game is Spurs always beat Manchester City, they have a hoodoo over them, Tottenham players are going to think, yeah, let's play with a bit more self-belief. And I've sort of said this a bit when it's come down to, like, Spurs not getting trophies over the line, because I do often feel like in big games. So a classic, let me give you a classic example of this. I say a classic example and then I can't think of the year. I want to say it's 2017-18 when we got to the FA Cup semi-final, and we were a better team than Manchester United at the time, but they just showed up on the day. And so much of the conversation around that match was Tottenham, as it was in the Europa League final last year, Tottenham don't win these type of games. Manchester United win these type of games. It doesn't matter what their form's like in the league, but, Tottenham won't win it. And I think it makes other teams approach games, did in the past anyway, make other teams approach games like that against Spurs. Like, we can have Tottenham today because they don't win these type of games. And I think it just plays in reverse when we play. There must be a reason. There must be a reason. There has to be a reason that we keep beating them. I mean, I think the reason today, if we like outside of intangibles, the reason why we beat them today is because we've been set up really well. We're drilled really well. João Palhinha, as many of us hoped, has unlocked another level in many of the players around him, has given many of the players around him the freedom to actually be able to express themselves and kind of focus on their own game as opposed to having to be sidetracked by defending. A notable example of this is Rodrigo Bentancur. Rodrigo Bentancur, who now, with less of that defensive responsibility placed upon him, is able to just kind of roam about, keep the ball moving, actually be something of a metronomic presence. Keep the ball ticking, keep passing it about. Basically, either usually picking the ball up from Sarr, who's run behind him, or releasing it to Sarr, who's run ahead of him. Pape Matar Sarr, who did not stop running today. Man of the match, as per TNT Sports, and definitely man of the match. What an unbelievable start to the season for that young man. Like, what a player. And to think he has been written off by so many of our own for no reason. Kid's 21, 22 years old. We signed him when he was a child. Like, this is the lesson. This is the lesson for when we're talking about Mathis Tell, when we're talking about Archie Gray. Why aren't they doing it now? We bought these players. Why aren't they doing it now? These are young guys. These are young players. Yes, there's a much wider conversation to be had about Tottenham buying readily available players now. Oven ready. I hate that expression. Hate it. Oven ready players. Off the peg players, right? Yes, of course there's a conversation to be had about that. But don't draw these other young players into it. Don't sit there and say that Tell's useless or Archie Gray's useless. They're pathetic. They're this and that. Waste of money. Both 19, 20 years old. Kids, right? Pape Matar Sarr. Similar position a couple of years ago. Well, he hasn't done it. Let's sell him. Let's get rid of him. What are you talking about, man? Kid's been like probably our best player this season so far. Just got to have patience. And I know it's frustrating. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like raging against that. I'm impatient. I get frustrated. I've been annoyed about the Morgan Gibbs-White transfer, the Eze transfer, all of this, right? But at the same time, we do have some really good players still. And I'm not a Levy apologist. This isn't copium. But I said it at the start of the season. And yes, it's only 2 games in. But at the same time, I said at the start of the season, I was excited to see a lot of these young players working with Thomas Frank, working within a structure that feels somewhat more organised. And I'm not saying Ange Postecoglou's system wasn't organised, but it wasn't particularly flexible. I think that's even the staunchest of Ange Postecoglou fans can surely concede to that point that his approach was not flexible. It wasn't. He said he saw it as like a concession of his values and all that type of thing, aside from the Europa League final. And that's all I'm saying on that one. We saw it as a concession upon this sort of this sense, this almost like moral indignation that he had in defending these principles. And one may argue that it is that kind of mantra, that mentality that saw us win a trophy and everything. And I dare say it played a part. Because it's taken a lot of managers, many different attempts to sort of crack that nut, if you like, not in that way, of getting a trophy over the line for Tottenham Hotspur. And Ange Postecoglou did that. But what he didn't do particularly well, did he, was say, well, I've got all these injuries now. Maybe I need to try things a bit. Oh, no, just going to lose again. Right, okay, great, nice one. 17 losses on the bounce, or not on the bounce, but, 17 losses in the season. But I think most of us said last year, we do have a good squad here. We have a squad that is underperforming, that is playing underneath itself. There were a lot of injuries as well. which we can choose or choose not to blame on Ange Postecoglou. I never really delved into that side of stuff at the time, and I won't do it now because quite simply I don't know. I'm not qualified enough to talk about hamstrings and how Ange is training them and what it meant for them. But what we can say is, on face value, we had a lot of injuries last year. So fine, he faced that. I would like more signings. We do need more depth. We need more versatile players that can perform within this system, these systems that Frank employs. Definitely need that. But my point is, what we do have, though, is a lot already of very talented players. And we're already actually starting to see players who were much maligned by me. Richarlison, prime example of that. Richarlison, who they were saying before the game today, or at least on TNT, they were saying, went to Frank pre-season and said, I'm ready. I want to play. I want to make an impact under you. I'm up for this. I want to stay at Spurs and I want to fight for this. And you feel that so much from every performance so far for him. Like, from a player who, I think we've all known has ability, has always been a talented player, but has been inconsistent, has been injured a lot. And that's the kicker, isn't it? That's the kicker. Can he stay fit? But what we do have now is a player that is fit and is clearly determined to make something of his Tottenham career, clearly determined to be a player that not only plays for Brazil in the World Cup, but to be a player that stays playing at this level, stays playing in the Premier League, stays playing Champions League football, doesn't want to go to Saudi, doesn't want to go to the USA or wherever else. He wants to stay in top, with all due respect, he wants to stay playing in the Premier League, the pinnacle of football. And it is. It's not Eurocentric. It's not Brexit. It's not that. You ask anyone around the world, and they all say the Premier League is the best, the most competitive league in the world. We know it is. I'm sorry, it just is. Just is. Richarlison wants to say that, and he feels like a player who is fighting for that. His performances, and I will say it again, his performances are bordering on Kane-esque at the moment. His ability to hold the ball up, to be in the mix, to bring other players into the game. That the ball he played, the sort of cross field through ball that he's curved with the outside of his boot behind the City defence to Brennan Johnson, just went a little bit too far ahead of Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson wasn't quite alert to it in the last, say, like 10 minutes or so. Was absolutely sublime. It was peak Harry Kane style forward play, dropping deep, picking the ball up, letting the wingers overlap, and just dinking a beautiful ball behind the defence, drawing the defence out towards him and pulling the strings, orchestrating. But then when he needs to, being the point man, running into that space himself, trying to get on the end of it, and being an aerial threat. It's just... It's brilliant. He's so good at the moment that I like Dominic Solanke. I like Dominic Solanke, but I groan when we take Richarlison off now. Just in a sense of like, not because I dislike Dominic Solanke, but it's just Richarlison gives so much to this team right now, so much to it that I don't want to lose that. I don't want him to be off the pitch, but I understand. Let's conserve him. Let's spread the minutes out. Dom Solanke needs to get up to speed again. And Dom Solanke, let's have it right, is a very good player as well. He's very good at doing many of those things that Richarlison is doing well today, holding the ball up, playing with his back to goal, all that type of stuff. Like, it's... I want to, we have to temper expectations here. I know at the moment the conversation is going to be, can we? And I'm here for people having fun. I like that. Like, it's fun, right? It's fun, and football's supposed to be fun. And we shouldn't be sitting here saying, I did a little stupid Photoshop at half time of Pep Guardiola and chirpy, living rent-free in Pep Guardiola's head. Brave doing. No, it's not. It's funny. Football's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. If people want to say, "Can we?" Should we? Let them do it. You don't need to worry about tweets coming back to bite you on the arse or anything. It doesn't really matter, right? Just enjoy yourselves, you know? Oh no, I tweeted positive things about Eze and then he signed for Arsenal. Doesn't matter, mate. Like, it really doesn't matter. I know what I'm doing here now. Last week I had somebody complaining about me creating like metaphorical situations of somebody saying something and then arguing with that. I'm doing it again, aren't I? I'm doing it again. Sorry, faithful listener and commenter. I'm doing it again. It's just what happens, mate. If you want the better, if you want the more structured, more rational, reasonable takes, I do 2 pods in the week. On a Monday, I've got a sort of standard studio show where I talk about all the other stuff that happens at Spurs, reflect on the game, look ahead to what's happening, talk about transfers, all that type of thing. Got many regular guests on there. And then on Thursdays, I do a Q&A pod where I'll get somebody in and ask some questions from the audience. So if you want more structured podcasting, do that. These are recorded, and I have to make this point. If you've found this in two days after the game and you're wondering why this is quite frantic, why this is quite disorganized, I literally, as the game finishes, turn off my TV, grab my laptop and type out a title, all that sort of stuff, and then hit record. This is recorded directly after the game, right? This is just a stream of consciousness. This is just whatever jumbled garblings I want to pour out of my mouth after a game because I'm in the moment and I'm emotional and just trying to process it all, right? So there you go. It's I'll plug it halfway through, actually. I've also got Patreon as well, patreon.com/RTRpod, where you get much more of this type of stuff on there. Doing a bit of dog sitting at the moment, so you can hear me doing a preview pod of this game last night on a dog sit, trying to coax a Rottweiler back into my company with a baby bell. It's just what happens behind the paywall. It's mad. It's quirky. I mean, this is 2 clean sheets. We've gone away at the Etihad. We kept a clean sheet. 2 clean sheets. 5 goals scored. Top of the league. We're Tottenham Hotspur. This is top. Wait, are we top of the league? Maybe Chelsea are top of the league, actually. Hold that thought. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We're top of the league. We are top of the league. They Chelsea drew. I didn't know. Oh yes, they drew with Palace, didn't they? Those stinking, horrible people. 2 games, 2 clean sheets. Thomas the Frank engine is. I'm not doing that. I don't like it. Actually, do you know what? I quite like Expressions. I think he's a funny bloke. He's got like a lyrical flow through. He's a poet, basically. And a lot of what he comes out with is actually not only quite on the money, but also very funny. And I understand, right? He got invited to a pre-match press conference, the Super Cup, all that type of thing. Asking the new gaffer though, do you like the name Thomas the Frank Engine? Fella, come on. Use that little platform a bit better than that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not, I mean? I think he's very funny. I think he's very smart, but I didn't like that. I thought it was a bit weird. Thomas Frank's Revolution rolls on. I'm just, yeah. It's funny. I went on Man City podcast before this to preview it, and I sort of felt like afterwards I didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's probably a recurrent theme with a lot of my podcasting, but I felt like I didn't make an awful lot of sense on there. And I was saying to David, who runs the pod afterwards, I think the problem is, mate, I don't there's so much new at Spurs now. Like we feel like actually, do you know what? Genuinely speaking, like with Sonny gone now, this finally feels like a new team outside of the end of the Pochettino era. Because what it's basically been, I know Ben Davis is still here, but we've had this tail running from Pochettino's era where we've basically seen one by one all these players slowly dissipate, fade out. Jan, Toby, Dembele, obviously. I mean, but he went before Poch did. Danny Rose, Dele Alli. Do you know what I mean? Slowly but surely, Christian Eriksen goes, then Harry goes, then Sonny goes, and now suddenly, finally, it feels like a whole new team, a whole new era completely. And I mean, probably what should be thankful to Ange Postecoglou for is getting Sonny getting that last drop, that last little drop out of that previous era, and find like putting a cherry on top of it, you know. But now it's new. It's definitely new. Christian Romero looked like he was on the brink of going. Has had his Wolf of Wall Street moment, dropping his mic. He's not leaving. He's the captain. New contract. And now just suddenly this wave of new young stars coming to the fore. It is exciting. And I want to run with that. I want to run with the excitement because I know there is that nagging feeling in the back of my head, right? There's that nagging feeling here that says, don't get too excited. You're only 2 games in. You always beat Man City. You should have beaten Burnley. If we get a couple of injuries, if. But you know what? I really honestly don't have many expectations for this season. I mean, I have some expectations. I would like Spurs to finish in the top half. How novel would that be? Really, ideally, I would like Spurs to finish in the top 6. If I'm being brutally honest. But the thing is, the idea of finishing in the top 6 is a very different proposition to what it was even 2 or 3 seasons ago. The Premier League is hard now, man. Like, it's hard. It's hard. It's hotly contested. And it will take a lot. But the main thing is, like right now, I just want to enjoy football again. I want to enjoy it. We enjoyed the Europa League final last year and all the carnival out the back of it, the trophy parade and Warrior Trophy in Arsenal and all that type of thing. We loved that. That was class. But the majority of that season was a misery. And the majority of football post-Pochettino has been a misery. Mourinho, Conte. I saw that clip doing the rounds again the other day. Him sat there talking, after the Southampton game, because people use it to make the point against Daniel Levy. I'm like, get it out of my face. Get him out of my face. I hate him. It instantly depresses me seeing him, that whole era. His putrid entitlement, the way he treated our club like a rag, and people still stand there, oh, this fellow was right. This fellow, do one, man. Do one. Remember where your loyalty lies. It lies with the club. And now, I've triggered myself there talking about Antonio Conte. I want to stay on the good vibes. I want to stay in the happy place. I want to stay in the place that is Tottenham Hotspur having just won at the Etihad. Having gotten a clean sheet at the Etihad. Having, to be honest, looked largely quite comfortable at the Etihad. You know? Matt in Oz says, can we? Beatplate says, I was a staunch Ange supporter. Frank has me eating my words. We look so well balanced. I really hope the club don't coast on this good start and help him in the remaining window. William Gardner. Hey, Jack. First away win since February. Feels good, eh? Yes, mate. Not only is it our first away win, so our last away win was in Manchester, and that was against Manchester United. This is our first win. Genuinely, this is our first win in the Premier League since that Manchester United game in February against a non-just promoted team. Like, you know, again, Sozange, mate, but come on. Welcome in Pieces says, Bournemouth up next. Have to see if we're still cursed by losing all our matches before an international break. Today we were on it, though. That was such a fun match to watch. Glenn Stanbury, it's who we are, mate. Welcome in Pieces says, also, hello, mate, fancy new mic you have there. Yeah, do you know what I've realised? I'm sorry to anybody watching this on YouTube. I'm not running it through this mic again. I keep doing it. YouTube doesn't want to pick up my new mic automatically. And it's really irritating. I have to go through this convoluted process of changing the browser mic and all that, whatever. You don't need to hear this. But if you are listening to this podcast, you will hear it recorded through the nice mic. And you can get that wherever you get your podcasts. So do that. Luis F says, I think Frank's Tottenham will be pretty hard for anyone to beat in the Champions League. You know, let's wait and see, mate. A few eyes emojis there. Jack Fitch says, was adamantly Anjin. A part of me still regrets that it came to a sacking after a trophy. But damn, if Frank hasn't got us off to a good start, got me hopeful. Look, you know, we're fickle beings. We want to see Tottenham. Don't feel bad about it. You can still retain affection for Ange Postecoglou. You can still be happy about what he did for the club. You can still stand staunchly by your values that the club were harsh to sack him after having won a trophy. But it doesn't make you a hypocrite to also be happy to see Spurs winning games. You know, just remember that. You're a Spurs fan, right? These things can both be true. And I still, you know, you see sort of almost daily on Twitter and stuff. Like there's talk about Ange going to Nottingham Forest, right? Because, you know, Nuno Espirito Santo's fallen out of him there. And there's a lot of like, oh, you know, I don't know if I want us to beat Nottingham. Oh, shut up, man. Like, come off it. Like, whatever, you can like Ange and just, you're a Spurs fan. Get on with it. Like, I love Pochettino. Did it mean I didn't want us to beat Chelsea? Did it? You know? Not at all. Cameron Arthur says, calling it early. Get the bus parade booked for the end of May down the Tottenham High Road. Imagine. Robert, fantastic win. Add a couple of gold nuggets to this squad and we've got something special. Sam Salinas, Pape Matar is an absolute gem. Rolls Royce of a squad player. What is that? That's like praise with a damning. I can't remember. There's no expression for that, isn't it? Where you say that somebody's supposedly saying something that's positive, but actually they're sort of having a bit of a swipe. Don't know. Maybe that's not what you didn't mean. James Glanville says, mad to think Eze didn't fancy being Sar's backup as we win the league with a records point total. PG says, here's a question. Do the Tactico accounts who said Palhinha would be a bad signing need to deactivate out of shame? I think they do, mate, actually. I think they do. So if you want to hand us over the keys to your accounts, everybody, we'll accept your apologies. Mickey Bobbins says, don't see any point in Ange bashing anymore. He won us a trophy. Thank him. And we've moved on. Not Ange bashing, mate. I haven't done it at any point. You're being way oversensitive, to be honest, if you think I've been Ange bashing at any point today, lads. Like, you know. Jack Underhill. I love the meme of Johnson having a stinker guaranteeing a goal. Jerry Curlin says, clean sheet FC. Fuzzy Mud says, great pod, Jack. Thanks, mate. Coys. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Ample Sample says, imagine how competitive we'd be if we just signed some players early and stopped messing around. We could genuinely have a go. I mean, mate, we have just won away at the Etihad, so I would say that we are having a go. You know, and I do think we have some good players. So let's just wait and see, shall we? Nathaniel Bischoff says, can you comment on Kudus' defensive work? He seemed to track back on every City attack. Could we, spell with a K-U-D? I'll do that when I talk about the players individually, but that's a good point. Booth says, on track for a plus 95 goal difference, and I'm totally here for it. Go on then. Ghostface says, hear me out. I now see... Wait, hang on. No, I don't like that. Hear me out. I now see Frank as a potential Pep replacement for City, along with Arteta. No, I don't. I don't want to really think about that one, to be honest, mate. Maybe. Well, City. Apparently, he was actually high on City's list. He was on City's radar, Frank, and we sort of swooped in and did it. So whatever. Let's have it. Chris says, "God, we are so good." Jask says, "Choo choo, all aboard the Frank engine. Next stop, silverware." Chris says, I have expectations after watching those last 3 matches. Not since Poch have I thought we aren't going to lose - concede. Andy Nash says, I don't care if he doesn't take on his fullback. Johnson is incredible. I mean, what a finish, to be fair. What a finish. Welcome in peace. He says, it's a backhanded compliment. Yeah, that's the expression I was looking for, Damning with faint praise as well. That's it. That's the one I was looking for. Somewhere between the two, isn't it? Shall we let's do the players from today. Let's do the players because they deserve all their flowers today, all these lads. So Guilherme Vicario, funnily enough, didn't have an awful lot to do today. I want to say he pulled off one really good save. Maybe it was Oscar Bob or somebody, or Marmouche. One of the two had a shot in the second half and he pulled off a good save. There was a little moment. I have one slight critique. There was a little moment where in the first half where Marmouche could have put them 1-0 up, when Porro kind of nodded the ball back. And it was a pretty sort of weak defensive header from Porro. But I think the blame is shared. Like there was a lot going on the commentary again. I'm sorry, TNT Sports, man. I'll get into this a bit after I've done the players, but TNT Sports again, man. Like they are rapidly, honestly, becoming my I want to watch this game with crowd noise channel. Like Fletch and McCoist, man, are honestly winding me up something. Like honestly, they're outwardly disrespectful the way they talk about Tottenham when they cover Spurs games now, and it's tedious. I don't understand why. Surely, the majority of people watching that game are fans of Spurs or Man City. So why are you going to sit there just whatever? I've started going on about that now, haven't I? My point was that I think Vicario was somewhat in the blame. I think he should have been more alert to the situation, and I think he should have been meeting the ball. I think a better, more alert keeper would have met the ball there. But maybe this is just my Vicario agenda. I don't know. I'm just, I get just a whiff of the Aaron Ramsdale's about him, but he didn't really do anything that bad today. He just didn't really have an awful lot to do. So well done to the defence. Pedro Porro, Marmouche was having him on toast in the opening stages of the first half, but he found his feet most definitely. I think it probably helped our case that Aït-Nouri went off as well. It definitely weakened Manchester City down that side, and it gave Porro a bit of a sort of chance to breathe. But he was fantastic. His deliveries into the box were consistently brilliant. His pressing down the wing was consistently brilliant. Defensively, I think we all know Porro is somewhat suspect, but he was all right. And the main thing that I continue to say about Pedro Porro is that he's just wearing his status as one of the senior members of the squad with pride, and he's brilliant. He's been exemplary in the shirt, and yeah, got a lot of love for him. Christian Romero, magnificent, like absolutely magnificent. Organised, kept the back line organised, read the game perfectly, put in a number of like blocks, last ditch tackles. I mean, the thing is, right, how much now are our defence benefiting from having somebody like Palhinha in front of them? Now we're actually getting to see our defenders, getting to see players like Romero actually not have to defend so frantically all the time. Ridiculous booking, by the way. Absolutely ridiculous booking from him. And again, the TMT commentary team, he's reckless. Oh, that's his reputation now as a reckless player, this and that. I mean, this is such tedious old hat conversation now that they're still regurgitating. But again, it is what it is. So, fantastic performance from Romero. Stupid to be booked. El Capitan. Mickey van der Ven, great performance. Some great last-ditch tackles. Again, didn't really have an awful lot to do, but every time he was called upon to do something, he did it well. Fantastic centre-back partnership, those two. Long may it continue. Jed Spence, I genuinely believe, and I'm not actually saying this as like hyperbole, like a hyperbolic joke or anything like that. I genuinely mean it when I say I think that Jed Spence is truly one of the best players in his position in the entire league. I really think he is. I really like Destiny Adogi. I think he's a supremely talented player, but I don't want to lose Jed Spence from this team. I honestly think he has the lot. I think he has the absolute lot. He's so tenacious going forwards. The way he presses is impeccable. His fitness is unbelievable. His belief, his strength, the way he marshals the wing, the way his technical ability, knocking the ball about, noticing runners, noticing where to pass the ball or what space to run into, when to overlap, when to drop back. It's all impeccable. All impeccable. Genuinely like a 10 out of 10 performance today. And I think the main thing is defensively, he is unbelievable. Like, defensively, I struggle to think of a better fullback in the league. Honestly, I really do. He's just something special. I really mean that. We all knew he was a talented young player. We knew he was a talented kid. And whatever people, he was plagued by off-pitch stuff and this and that, but he's an astonishingly good player. He's just so talented. Love him. João Palhinha, monster. Make it permanent. Make it permanent now. I hope we have an option to buy that can't be declined. If we want to do it, if we can just press the button, do it, because do it. A transformative signing. Transformative signing. I wasn't buying for a second. Look, people have their own opinions, and people sometimes make those opinions based on a gut feeling, or sometimes people will put forward a sort of, a statistical basis for why they have this opinion, right? I'm not saying anybody's wrong, and I'm not saying this to like belittle or whatever anybody else, but my gut feeling has always been that João Palhinha was somebody that we have desperately needed. Yes, of course, we would have much liked a Rodri, a player that can do what João Palhinha does and also be almost as good as Kevin De Bruyne as a creator, But unfortunately, players like that are few and far between. João Palhinha, though, he's been a transformative signing. The control, when you look at the second half of that game, a game that, like, yeah, I know it's Manchester City and all this, and we've beaten them loads of times and stuff. But when you look at the second half of that game and you consider the control that we continue to have when City should have been kind of going all out, putting the pressure on us, hoping that we mess up because we're Spurs and we're going to bottle it and all that type of thing, right? Players like João Palhinha just give us like a foothold, continue to give us a foothold in those games where we can just look so much more relaxed in possession and just not so frantic all the time. And he's another one that whenever he comes off, I wince a little bit. I don't like the idea of him coming off, but we're all right today. And just the players around him, like what it's done for Romero, for Van de Ven is great. What it's done for Rodrigo Bentancur is great. It's just a transformative signing, like I say. Rodrigo Bentancur, wonderful performance today. One of his best, genuinely one of the best he's probably ever had in our shirt. But, fantastic. He knocking the ball about, keeping things flowing, keeping the ball moving, doing his fair bit to break up play, break up opposition attacks and things like that as well. But obviously, knowing that you've got the marshalling of Palhinha there to just mop up if you do make any mistakes, probably again eases the pressure. Lovely performance. Pape Matar just doesn't stop. I've spoken about him a lot, but just a wonderful, wonderful player. A wonderful, wonderful player. Yeah, very excited about the season ahead of him. I really am. He's just so talented. Mohamed Kudus is so much better than I thought he was. And I keep saying this, but so much better than I ever anticipated he would be. A wonderful player. I was asked earlier on in the comments to talk about his defensive work. Yeah, dropping back, getting stuck in, helping with the press. But this leads to a slight criticism, which is just release the ball. In your own half, lad, just release the ball. You release the ball and get back up the pitch and let other players handle matters in our pitch. Because there's quite a couple of times when he sort of dwelled in possession in our own half and nearly lost the ball. And that could lead to problems. But again, it's just, he's enthusiastic, right? This is what I've been told. I not dug him out, but I commented on it before in the Super Cup that sometimes it looks like he's trying a bit too hard. He's a bit too eager to please. He's a bit over enthusiastic. And I was just told that's kind of the rough with the smooth. That's what you have to take from him. It's kind of one of his characteristics. It's what he's like as a player. And you can see that to a degree, can't you, with the way he does dwell in possession in our own half, sort of just wants to play the ball himself out of like tight spots. Lucas Moura used to do a sort of similar thing quite a bit at the time as well. But he's a special player, man. He's a really special player. I spoke to John Lily White Rose in the week. Go back and listen to that pod if you've not heard it. Really good discussion. And I'm not saying that as a self-aggrandizing way. I mean it mainly from John's perspective. He's always really fantastic value on the pod. And he made the point that Kudus looks just like one of those transfers that's kind of slipped through the net a little bit, in that he looks like a City or Liverpool player. He does. And for whatever reason, they've not fancied him, or the opportunity hasn't presented itself for them to sign him. But it's all the better for Spurs, because he looks like a supremely talented player. Supremely talented. Brennan Johnson didn't do much, and then he scored again, didn't he? And as I suspected, Richarlison and Kudus combining drew the Manchester City players over towards them. And then Johnson had half a pitch to run into, acres of space. And whatever you want to say about Brennan Johnson is, if he's in the box and he's in space, 9 times out of 10, that's not a statistical fact, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to score, isn't he? Johnson again, ole. And what a finish as well from the lad, The thing about Johnson is he might not be a perfect player, but he reminds me just a lot of Nasser Chadli back in the day. And people would say, well, all he does is score. It's not a bad thing, is it? But just Brennan Johnson is just he's so ruthless. He really is. If he gets into the right position, into the right bit of space, he's unbelievable. And this isn't my point. I can't remember if it was on one of the pods or if I saw somebody tweet it once or if I read it somewhere. This is just nature now, isn't it, of online media. It's 1,000,001 things going in your brain 24/7. You forget to answer. How awful is that feeling when you go to like WhatsApp somebody, right? Message them, and then you see, oh God, I've left them on red. Like there's something that a message they sent you about 3-4 days ago, and you were like, I'll reply to them. But I've just got to do these different things first. I'll reply to them. Then you end up going down a million different rabbit holes or whatever, and just internet in your brain. I saw somebody say of Brennan Johnson that back in the day, like if he was born in a different era, you could have seen him playing more of a Defoe type role, where he's, number two of a little and large type partnership or something, playing up front, and he'd probably be a ruthlessly effective striker in the sort of, say 2004 kind of era, around that sort of time. But now he's obviously having to play in this sort of winger, forwards, inside forward sort of role, which clearly doesn't suit him entirely. But give the lad a decent ball, give him a bit of space in the box, and you know what the outcome's going to be. And do you know what? He scored a European trophy winning goal for us. I just leave him alone, really, from now on. Richarlison, unbelievable. Wonderful performance again. Wonderful player. Please keep it up, Richie. Stay fit. Keep firing. Wonderful. Subs, Bergvall, Solanke, Odegaard. Solanke and Odegaard both had a couple of opportunities. I think Trafford pulled off a couple of good saves, which were all right. And, is what it is. They didn't have an awful lot of time to shine. I'm sure they'll get minutes in the coming weeks. On Trafford, the state of the officiating in the Premier League, where he can run out of his box with a knee straight into the chest of Kudus and handball the ball in the process outside of his box, and it to just be absolutely nothing. For it to not even be, do you know what I mean? Not a free kick, not even it's a red card. Ultimately, it's a red card. But nothing at all. And all the commentary going on about it being clean and all that, it's mad. It's absolutely mad how wildly inconsistent the officials, the referee was awful today, I thought. It didn't come back to bite us, we were fine, but the referee was awful. So, that is what it is. But Spurs, we have triumphed. 2-0 away at the Etihad. Frank's Revolution rolls on, and what a wonderful time to be alive. What a great time this is. Yeah. Come on, Tottenham. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a lot more people watching than there are likes. So please, I do ask you very nicely, just give it a little thumbs up as you are watching. It will help other people to discover the pod, for more people to be able to watch it. Please leave a rating. Please leave a review. Please ignore my cat shouting in the background. It's very, very irritating. If you're listening to the podcast, leave a rating, leave a review. There'll be another pod on Monday. But until then, up the Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Let's do it.